Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Let's talk about this Monday Night Raw from March 25th. And this was the best Monday Night Raw of the last maybe decade. Like a regular Monday Night Raw, probably the best one of the last decade or so. In terms of really furthering stories, doing interesting things. The matches were what they were, but a lot of really good promos, and of course a fantastic finish that really made them earn 3 hours. So because this Raw was so hot, we're gonna go ahead and push news and notes to the end of the show rather than doing it at the beginning. So we start the show with Cody Rhodes, who comes out cutting a promo. He's talking about Roman ruining his dream, and he knows that Roman hates him for winning the Royal Rumble all over again. Then he says he can't do it alone. He can't win at WrestleMania alone. Asks the people to ride with him. Then he says he asks the people to fight with him. And then The Rock interrupts. Rock comes out there, puts his hands behind his back, leans in, says something to Cody. Cody reacts to it physically, but it doesn't say much of anything. Afterwards, Jackie Redmond, microphone holder, asks The Rock, "Rock, what did you say?" He says, "Ask Cody Rhodes." Later in the show, she asks Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes says he would rather not repeat what The Rock said to him, but he knows that The Rock is making promises that he can't keep. Later in the show, Cody Rhodes comes out to help Jey Uso after Jey Uso defeats Shinsuke Nakamura, because Seth Rollins and Cody promised to have Jey Uso's back tonight. So Seth Rollins gets taken out by Drew McIntyre, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But as Cody Rhodes is fighting Jimmy Uso, and he fights Jimmy all the way to backstage, he ends up throwing Solo Sikoa outside the door when he's attacked from behind by The Rock. He then spends the next 10 minutes shining his shoes in the rain off Cody Rhodes' ass. I mean, he just threw this man against his bus numerous times. I mean, he beat Cody very, very badly, ripped his shirt. He got him rolling around in puddles of rain, just thoroughly destroyed. He's getting ruined out there, okay? So then The Rock cuts a little bit of a promo at the camera and says it didn't have to be this way, but it is because Cody Rhodes decided to get into The Rock's business. And then The Rock looks over and he's like, yeah, look at this. Yeah, look at this. And Cody's reaching and he's bleeding and he's reaching. And The Rock says, okay, now he got it. He got his weight belt, takes the weight belt off, wipes Cody's blood all over the weight belt. And then it says that Mama Rhodes, The Rock is a man of his word. And it was tremendous. This is the kind of stuff I've wanted WWE to do. Make the 3 hours worth it. That was fantastic. Truly amazing stuff. Even had a lot of people, myself included, to a degree, who thought that The Rock just came to Chicago just to do that one spot with Cody and then that was it. Again, Triple H is very boring booking. Usually dictate that nothing was going to happen. Nice swerve, nice surprise for there to continuously be more. There's a lot of people who, of course, are now upset, saying, man, it should just be The Rock versus Cody now. And I think I've said that already. I've already said that. And I think it makes sense to have The Rock versus Cody one-on-one at this point. My conspiracy theory that The Rock was in it, and him and Cody are working together, yeah, that's down the drain. I'm thinking maybe at this point, The Rock can't even turn babyface now at this point. So I'm thinking they may have to change things where Roman's going to end up being the one turn babyface and probably be the one to get kicked out of the bloodline. So that seems to be, the most logical position at this point. But not to think too far ahead, because sometimes thinking too far ahead can ruin how you feel right now and ruin what you got going on right now. And right now, this build for WrestleMania finally feels like a build to WrestleMania. It finally feels like two guys don't like each other. They're trash talking each other, and now it's time to get physical. And The Rock being the guy who not only took the first strike when he smacked Cody first, but now he's taking it to the next level because Cody met him where he was. The Rock was being disrespectful. Cody smacked him, and now The Rock has escalated it. He mentioned his parents. He said, your daddy don't know nothing about hard times. I'm going to learn you about hard times. I mean, it's classic pro wrestling done the right way. You made the 3 hours worth it. You paid off the storyline that you started the show with. You rewarded the people who stayed up and watched the entire program. That feels good. For the first time in a long time, Monday Night Raw actually gave you a reward for sticking with the show until the end. Yes, there is some complaints that you could have, about, maybe The Rock not being on the show anymore, or, I think they went like an hour and some change without you seeing The Rock and maybe thinking that The Rock was gone, and that might affect the audience or something like that. But ultimately, I don't think it matters. This is a really big, hot angle. At this point, I kind of just want it to be The Rock and Cody. But a tag team match is fine. This is really going to be a hot match. And I like that The Rock is seemingly taking control of the things that he's been doing. You could tell that this has been just slightly different. Gerwitz and The Rock comes in with their own sense of how to tell the story and their own verbiage, and Cody fits into their world well because Cody wants to be an actor or a politician or whatever, and he's worked with The Rock before, way back in the day, so he knows what he's trying to get out of this thing. He can play into The Rock's ego because The Rock wants to look like the biggest, most baddest badass of all time, and Cody wants to be the most sympathetic babyface of all time. So it works out. These two massive egos are both going to get what they want. Cody gets to be Ricky Morton. He gets to be his dad, getting jumped by the Four Horsemen, but this time it's the Bloodline. He gets to show some fire, fight back, show that he's tough, and then get jumped, thoroughly drubbed, and everybody's like, oh man, poor Cody. Sympathetic babyface, the linchpin of the white meat babyface in pro wrestling. Everybody's going to remember this for all time. I think this is one of those angles that people are going to remember for a really, really, really long time. I hate that it took so long for us to get here, but it's close to WrestleMania now, and it's so close that this might be able to carry them for the next 2 weeks. Cody's going to sell this joint. I mean, that's going to be the big issue here is how well does Cody sell it? He's going to have a big Band-Aid on his head. He's going to have to be real somber. He's going to have to pace. He's going to want The Rock to come out to do it again and all this kind of stuff. And that'll really get us to WrestleMania. The Rock has something to gloat about. He can show the belt to the fans and show everybody that this thing happened. Roman can laugh at it. It's all good. This thing is going to work out fantastically. Really good job. I'm glad, what, and the only thing is, I may have said, maybe do it for the go-home show, but doing it now leads me to believe that they probably have something even better for the go-home show. But I don't think Cody should get revenge. Not yet. Save his revenge, save him getting his hands on The Rock until the bell rings at WrestleMania. To me, that's the best way to handle this situation. You keep The Rock and Cody apart now. I don't know how you get Roman into this thing, because Roman's probably just watching this stuff on TV like, oh, that was pretty good. Like, I wish they had a book something like that for me, but, I just had to cut him down and tell him he's been saying the same stuff over and over again. These are all guys who know what they're doing. And like I said, it plays into what both men want very well. At this point now, to look into the future a little bit, I think Cody probably has to pin The Rock. And I think that's probably the best way to move this story forward. is Cody's going to have to pin The Rock. And then maybe, Roman blames The Rock for his loss, and that's how we get Roman out of this thing. But I certainly think that Roman has to probably turn babyface at this point. So I'm really enjoying this. This was fantastic. And this was absolutely worth the 3 hours. The other element of the show that everybody fell in love with, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and the shenanigans that these guys decided to engage in for about 20 minutes in the middle of the show. CM Punk was unhinged. He was really good here. Really good. Drew McIntyre, not quite on Punk's level, just a shade or two below it, but was still hanging in there. He still got his stuff in. CM Punk came out to talk about what should he do for WrestleMania. And that was the crux of this entire program, is that he wants to be involved. He can't use his arms, but his mouth still works. Then he gives a wink and a nod to April, who knows what he means. I mean, this guy's on television talking about cunnilingus. He's talking about the hibbity dibbity. Well, I was glad somebody's getting laid around this joint. In any event, Phil is talking about what he should do for WrestleMania. But he also wants to take some time to talk about the people who are talking about him. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. The Rock is not talking about him because The Rock already knows that his arms are too short to box with God. But then he brings him to Drew McIntyre, who can't stop talking about him. And Drew McIntyre comes out there. And what we get for the next... What was this segment? Like 6 or 7 minutes between Punk and Drew just alone? Ended up being gold. So Drew talks about CM Punk's arm, how he destroyed it because he deserved it. Then he says that he's straight edge, but spends all of his time in rehab, which got a nice little pop out of me. Then he starts talking about he would get in the ring, but he's probably got a weapon because he's from Chicago, which also got a pop out of me. He also said that he doesn't hate CM Punk, that CM Punk completes him, to which Punk got very upset, started to get frustrated. He said, "Boo this man," which was very good. So as he was saying that Punk completes him, he was talking about Punk being his muse. That whenever he's too tired, he thinks about CM Punk not being able to compete, and he is able to push forward. He keeps going, knowing that, Punk can never be who he is. And then he says he wants CM Punk to be the guest commentator. He wants him to have a front row seat to watch him raise the championship in the air in front of people, and saying that he's always been the chosen one. And then Punk cut him off and says, Who chose you? What paragon of virtue chose you? Say it. Say his name if you have the balls. And Drew's just, he's chuckling because he knows he can't say it. He knows he can't say it. But he doesn't want to quite leave the point, but he's got to leave the point because he can't say it. That was great. What paragon of virtue chose you? And it fits the story, by the way. So it's good. It's not just an easy dunk on Vince. It's a good point. You were not chosen by the people. That's where Punk was going with this. If you weren't chosen by the people, you were chosen by one person who ends up being, in their mind, a scumbag. So Drew McIntyre's like, okay, maybe you got a good point there. So at this point, Seth Rollins comes out and he's wearing bell bottoms. And I was like, how can anybody take this guy seriously? I mean, this is a real bad Dolomite jumpsuit he's got on here. I mean, these bell bottoms are so ridiculous. Bro, he looks like Disco Stew from The Simpsons. This guy is awful. What was humorous is Punk was talking about this earlier, where he says that, him and Seth Rollins have never seen eye to eye. But now they're not seeing eye to eye because Seth Rollins is wearing high heels. So everybody's basically talking about him being, cross-dressing. He also kind of took a shot at Drew McIntyre. He says, are you a Scottish psychopath in a kilt, or are you a Twitter troll in a skirt? And Drew McIntyre warned him that if he continued that line of questioning, he's going to get canceled on Twitter. So Seth Rollins comes out there, and he's talking about all the different decisions that these guys cannot make because they're not the world champion, and Punk is not in the championship match. He cannot make any decisions. And then he says that he would suggest that he be the referee, but that's his counting arm that's hurt. So Punk gets down and starts doing a 3 count to show that he can count with his other arm. And Rollins just looks at it like, he's gonna do this now. So Punk says that he doesn't think he can be fair being in the ring with these dipshits. That got censored. A lot of the Rock's promo got censored later too. Then Seth Rollins says that, he doesn't think about CM Punk at all. Doesn't care about CM Punk. CM Punk is a non-factor. And that he probably does need to be on commentary because he wants CM Punk to narrate the greatest moment of his career. Punk agrees, says that he will do commentary, and that he's going to do something that all of these guys haven't been able to do on their own, and that is make them interesting. So then the music plays, he's walking out, and Drew McIntyre's like, nope, not doing that. He's not getting the last word. So he starts getting in the ring, and he's quoting Stan from Eminem as he's trying to chase down CM Punk, saying that CM Punk is obsessed with him. CM Punk is following him on social media. CM Punk is doing all these things, watching his every move. CM Punk is a Drew McIntyre stan, to which Drew McIntyre is attacked from behind by Seth Rollins. He gets stomped and left for dead in the ring. Drew McIntyre, of course, gets his lick back later when he DDTs Seth Rollins on the floor. And no Damian Priest, by the way. I mean, the world champions got DDT'd on the floor. Damian Priest, you would think Money in the Bank cash in. Nope. They're not doing that. I don't understand it. I don't understand that at all. Anyway, great segment. Clearly, CM Punk, much like The Rock, has been inserted into this situation and completely took it over. I'm far more interested in watching Drew McIntyre and CM Punk fight than watching Punk and Rollins fight, or watching McIntyre and Rollins fight. This thing between Punk and Drew McIntyre is gotten really fun. Drew McIntyre went to the Mindy's Bakery earlier that day, found out they weren't open on Mondays or Tuesdays, and was cutting a promo on the internet about that. They also had a nice little banter when when Drew McIntyre took one of his shirts off after Punk said he never needed to put another man's name on a shirt in order to sell it. And then McIntyre took his shirt off and says that he had a bit of a difficult time getting his shirt off over his bicep, which has never been a CM Punk problem. So, these guys have just got really good burns for each other. You could tell that they probably didn't think that much of it ahead of time, but it was still very good. I love this. This was very good. Punk was on top of his game. It was... He has so much energy, and he was, of course, very animated, because he hasn't been out there in a long time, so it's not like you're sick of seeing him, and it's not like you're sick of what he's doing. He hasn't been out there, so this was his chance to really do some stuff, and he was very animated. When Rollins' music played, he started banging himself in the head with the mic. He was doing, snow angels as Rollins was coming to the ring. It was really good. He was really animated, really fired up, and you could tell he was having fun. I know people were joking about, oh, they're shooting in there, man. They're work shooting in there. This is a very different scenario. Not only because Punk can't work, he can't wrestle. So he's setting up something for the future with Drew McIntyre. But he also knows Drew McIntyre, probably has a great deal of trust in Drew McIntyre and McIntyre, vice versa. So they're not going to go too far where, you're going to get blindsided with some stuff. So they probably went to the edge as far as they could possibly go, pushed each other a little bit. Punk was being very aggressive on the mic, cutting Drew off quite often, trying to get the crowd to turn against him, which is usually what you're supposed to do. He's playing to the audience. And that was very good. I loved it. I saw the internet explode when Punk mentioned Jim Cornette's podcast. He didn't even say his name. He just says he listens to The Experience and The Drive-Thru. He doesn't really listen to Pat McAfee's show. And yes, they are angry. The AEW fan base are very, very upset that CM Punk listens to Jim Cornette still today. There's so many people running around saying that CM Punk was doing all the trans rights stuff because he was virtue signaling, which is what I said, right? He's just virtue signaling. He don't really care about trans people. He doesn't really care about women's rights. Jim Cornette is a racist and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you guys were just served an excellent segment with some really fun stuff between Drew and Punk and Rollins to a degree. And your response to that is, he mentioned Jim Cornette, so now I'm triggered, and I'm going to run with the obvious, ridiculous notion that he hates women and black people and gays and everyone else because he likes Jim Cornette. And because Jim Cornette likes him. So that's where we're going with this. Very odd decision making, but CM Punk has become the boogeyman for the AEW audience, and they're right that he's virtue signaling. They're absolutely right about that. But just because you are virtue signaling doesn't mean that you don't actually care about these things. Sometimes people do care, they just care in a performative way. And that seems to be what we've got going on here. A lot of people, too, were very popped very heavily on the who chose you kind of gimmick because they wanted to see if Drew McIntyre was going to say it, which, of course, he didn't. And it was also very obvious. But that's only one of those things that you could do, in WWE, where everybody knows the history, everybody is aware of what's going on. But it's not too outside baseball, but it's also not something where you're going to beat the drum, So, very interesting. Now, for the McIntyre-Rollins match, the finish is still up in the air because Punk, as a referee, which I thought was going to happen, I figured they could probably pull, I know he loves the Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart stuff. He probably could have gotten away with a SummerSlam 98 finish, not 98, SummerSlam 97 finish as the referee. Maybe Rollins spits on him. He tries to hit, Rollins with a chair, ducks it. He hits McIntyre, and that leaves McIntyre to lose. They could have done that. And I think that would have been a perfectly respectable finish where Punk would have cost McIntyre the belt by mistake to help Rollins. Or even the other way around where maybe it's Drew who spits on Punk and then Punk tries to, kick him or hit him with a chair or something like that. And he ends up having to count the 3 so that Drew McIntyre wins and he's forced to hold McIntyre's arm in the air. That could have been great storyline stuff. Him as a commentator, it's fine. But I think he would have been far more effective as a referee. This is one of the few times where I think a special guest referee would have actually been far more interesting than the two guys in the ring themselves. Really fun stuff here. Can't complain about this segment either. It was grand. It was very good. Now, the third segment that we're going to talk about before we get into the rest of the show, Rhea Ripley, Becky Lynch, they finally sized themselves up for WrestleMania. They finally put some heat on their storyline too. It took a while. Took way too long. It almost got to the point of not caring. Almost. So, Rhea Ripley, she's in the ring. She's concerned that she's not getting enough attention. You know, Becky Lynch is still fighting. Becky Lynch is doing all these other things. And she feels like she should be more important than whatever Becky Lynch is doing. And now she's getting a little bit impatient of wanting to have Becky Lynch's full attention. So Becky Lynch comes to the ring. She mocks Rhea Ripley for not wrestling. Rhea says that she doesn't need to wrestle. She has nothing to prove. Besides, she can just post a video or post a photo and get everybody's attention if that's what she wants to do. So then Becky Lynch talks about this being a different philosophy and being a champion. Becky Lynch is about busting her ass while Rhea Ripley is about showing her ass. It then says that in the long run, it's all about skill and merit. That's who decides who is at the top. And that, so Rhea Ripley is listening, and, you know, she then called Becky Lynch a cockroach. Said that she's hard to kill, but it's not impossible. And then said, but she's not going to take it that far. She only wants to take it to the point where she beats Becky Lynch until she has to stay at home and sit with her daughter and watch on Monday Night Raw and watch Rue call her mommy. That, you know, cut a little deep. You know, nice little burn there. Becky Lynch then got all choked up because that's what babyfaces do nowadays. We got a babyface crying every week on TV who says that she's going to give her a pass, but that's her only one. That she better not ever hear her mention her daughter again. Because while her father may be proud of all the things that she's done in her career, her father never got to meet her daughter. And that's something that is very, very important to her. And then she says earlier that Rhea Ripley didn't attack her because she was being respectful. She said there was nothing respectful about you. You didn't throw that first punch because you know when you do that, you can't go back. Dominic Mysterio starts jawing at Becky Lynch, and he's standing there basically with his hands in his pockets like Kurt Angle, the old Kurt Angle meme where he's like whistling and looking away. And then he flinches a little bit before the punch even happens. They showed it in when they replayed it. He flinched a little bit before the punch came, and then she punched him in the face. Becky Lynch punched Dominic Mysterio. Rhea is pissed. She attacks Becky. They fight, and then eventually they disappear apart from each other. I don't remember whether they got pulled apart or whether Dominic pulled Rhea out of the ring. I don't know. But they finally get physical between the two of them. The segment was good. It's hard to take Becky Lynch seriously because she is not nearly what she used to be. The incredibly shrinking Becky is becoming so obvious at this point. I mean, she's as little as Liv Morgan now. I mean, she's painfully thin. It just looks like somebody put a Becky Lynch costume on, you know, the Crypt Keeper and just decided gonna plop you right in front of Rhea Ripley, who is gigantic and you know, energetic and charismatic. And then here's a little old Becky, and everybody's kind of looking like, It sounds like Becky Lynch, looks like Becky Lynch, but my goodness, it is not Becky. That baby changed her a lot. I don't think it was the motherhood. I think that, you know, she wanted to get back into fighting shape. And then whatever diet she's on, I don't know if she's keto. I don't know if she's a vegan. I don't know what she's doing, but she's literally wasting away right in front of us. You know, and when you have somebody like Rhea who is gigantic and you know, got super abs and all this kind of stuff, she's like the female Hulk. And then you got this little person who is, you know, a little hat turned back, and you're like, if it wasn't Becky Lynch, let's say it was somebody else. Let's say this wasn't Becky Lynch, but it was like Candice LeRae or something like that. Nobody would take this seriously. You know, people are, the name Becky Lynch is carrying a lot of this stuff. And we're looking at it and saying, it's Becky, so she's got a chance. But if it was literally anybody else that was this tiny and this goddamn skinny, everybody be looking at this like, man, this is not even competition. What is this? Why isn't she fighting Jade Cargill? Why isn't she fighting Bianca? Why is she wrestling Becky Lynch? Why is she wrestling this little person? This little skinny person. She's going to get to the point where her head's going to be bigger than the rest of her body. It's eventually going to get there. She's going to be, like Mr. Mackey from South Park, eventually. I'm telling you, by August, the biggest part of Becky Lynch's body is going to be her head. And I don't understand how it's gotten this way. But whatever it is, she hopes she can reverse time and gain like 15 pounds before WrestleMania. Otherwise, she's going to come in that joint and, her knees are going to be knocking together. And, you're going to be able to hear her, the creaks in her elbows and stuff. It's like, man, this is ridiculous. She looks like she just literally jumped out of a coffin. She's pale of face. She's super skinny. She's crying in promos. I don't get it. This is not Becky Lynch. But they're trying something different, I guess. So we're stuck with this. But Rhea Ripley was fine. I didn't like the cockroach line, though. You're a cockroach. Like, you're a cockroach. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? So the promo segments were very good. Can't complain about those. They were very good. I think of course the Rhea and Becky was the weakest one because there's no firecrackers, and I don't think they really got anything out of Becky Lynch anymore. I'm not sure if she has any more in the tank. She's trying. She really is. But I think we've reached our limit with Becky Lynch, and I don't think there's anything left in that body. I don't know if there's anything left. She still has the drive. She might even still have the passion. I'm just not sure that they can really get anything more out of the man. It might just be time to move on. And maybe that's what this is about. Maybe this is one of those times where, Becky Lynch is going to go in there and pass the torch, and it's going to be Rhea's era from now on. And, Becky Lynch was the biggest female wrestling star for a couple of years, even when Ronda Rousey was there, who has, she's lost her mind apparently. Ronda Rousey. I mean, not only is she, talking about how she feels like she was doing fetish matches for a sick old pervert or whatever, but she also talked about how she got a concussion for being slapped by Stephanie. How are you a UFC fighter and a stay-at-home business mom smacked you and rung your bell? You washed at that point. I mean, come on. Maybe it should happen again. Maybe you need to get slapped back into reality. But Becky Lynch was the biggest female wrestling star in the world for a while. She wasn't the highest paid. I think Ronda Rousey probably made more money than her. But, when it comes to putting forth effort, when it came to fan reaction, Becky Lynch was number one. And it was a short amount of time. So it's been about 5 years since she's been over. 5 or 6 years since she's been super over, I guess you could say, and forced them to change the WrestleMania main event to put her in it. But that's about, that's a good run. But maybe it's time to hand the ball to somebody else. Last year might have been it when she handed it to Bianca, but we now see what that turned into when it comes to Bianca. Bianca beating Becky last year at WrestleMania is no different than Austin Theory, except for Bianca doesn't lose as much. It's no different than when Solo Sikoa beat John Cena. Well, it is what it is. But it seemed like since Rhea Ripley is somebody that Triple H actually cares about, this might actually be a passing of the torch moment where Becky Lynch goes in there, fights hard, loses, and Rhea Ripley comes out of that thing as being the top girl in the business. I think it's pretty much been assumed that she is, even without her beating Becky. But that seems to be the direction that they're going in, is that they're going to bring out this withered old husk of Becky Lynch, and then that's going to be it. They're going to call it a day as soon as Becky Lynch loses. And it's probably going to be a one-shot kill, no rematch kind of deal. But it is what it is, How's that Liv Morgan revenge tour go? No, never mind. She's even skinnier than Becky. All right, let's get through the rest of this show pretty quickly. Ricochet defeats JD McDonough. The crowd was very excited for Ricochet. I don't care about Ricochet. I mean, he can't talk. He can do all the cool moves he wants. I just don't care. The finish was great, though. It was a shooting star press from a standing position. So JD McDonough loses. I don't see how they haven't kicked him out of the Judgment Day yet. But then again, they're all losers. So why would you kick him out for being a loser when you're all losers? Next, Ivy Nile was defeated by Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae is trying to get Indy Hartwell to turn heel. She's trying to be a bad influence on Indy Hartwell. But Indy Hartwell didn't bite. She didn't turn. She didn't attack Ivy Nile from behind. Instead, Candice LeRae rolled up Ivy and pinned her. This match was like 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 at the most. People bitched, complained that this match was, oh, it cut into the only women's match on the show. The segment went too long. I guess they were talking about the Punk segment that probably went long, or was it the Cody segment that probably went long? It doesn't matter. Who the hell wants to spend a lot of time watching Candice LeRae anyway? Ivy Nile has a tremendous amount of potential. I just don't understand why they don't treat her better. They're continuing this feud between Candice LeRae and Maxine Dupree. Dupree was knocked off the ring apron. So they're doing something. DIY and New Day were backstage debating about why they each have the names that they have. You know, the nice burn of this is, why do you guys call it New Day? There's nothing new about you, which is correct. They've been around for like a decade. You know, they're not only old day, they're more like mold day. You know, mold day. Moldy. I don't know if you got that, but I just wanted to spell it out for you. Anyway, R-Truth says that they're going to be on commentary. The Awesome Truth. And then this was a tag team qualifier, New Day and a DIY. It was thrown out when Judgment Day beat up everybody. The Miz said that they weren't going to get out there and help. Then the Miz, being a good guy, babyface, he got in the ring, got beat up. And then Judgment Day came outside the ring. R-Truth continued to say that he's not fighting, that he is on commentary. And then Judgment Day forced him to fight. And then they actually had, R-Truth fight them off, which is odd. Like, they're trying to make R-Truth like an idiot savant, where he's actually good at his job. Instead of making him like 100% comedic, which is a slight difference between the way Vince portrayed the R-Truth character and how this one is that R-Truth definitely would have just gotten beat up before and wouldn't have had that much fight in him. But now they've added a little bit of effort to R-Truth, where he still gets people mixed up and still doesn't know where he is and all this kind of stuff. He's still disassociated from reality, but he's a little bit more competent now. And it does look more and more like they're probably going to put the belts on Awesome Truth. And I'm telling you, that's probably not a good idea. And it probably ain't a good idea. I don't know what more to say outside of, it doesn't seem to be a good idea. It doesn't seem to be a good idea at all. Sami Zayn was defeated by Bronson Reed. And they actually foreshadowed this earlier. He talked on the mic by saying that Sami Zayn has empty words. He doesn't even believe that he can beat him. And that the slubby nerds in Chicago doesn't believe Sami Zayn could defeat him either. And he says that he doesn't even believe that Sami Zayn could defeat Bronson Reed. He doesn't even think that's real. So later in the show, Sami Zayn is very upset that Gunther is saying these things about him. And Chad Gable is there saying, hey, look, let's make amends. I'm sorry about the stuff I said. And then Gunther just trying to have control over you. You don't let him do that. You need to get your head out of your ass. Sami Zayn appreciated that, Chad Gable wanted to make things right. Said he was right about this. They shook hands. Sami Zayn went to the ring and promptly lost to Bronson Reed. Now, they did a little thing where Gunther came out into the ramp, and that distracted Sami Zayn. And when he turned around, Bronson Reed did terrible things to him. Tsunami, pin. Now, Gunther is laughing at Sami Zayn, and everybody's looking at Sami Zayn like, oh boy, what a loser he is. Then backstage, Sami Zayn is throwing a fit. Like, he's really throwing a fit. He's very frustrated. Can't believe he let Gunther get under his skin like that. Can't believe he let Gunther distract him. Then Chad Gable walked up to him again. Says that he needs to calm down. And that this is what Gunther does. He planted seeds of doubt. And he started to water those doubts. He says, if you want to win this championship, you're going to have a different approach. And if you want to have a different approach, me and you can talk. We can do some business. So Chad Gable is going to coach Sami Zayn on how to defeat Gunther, which is weird because Chad Gable didn't defeat Gunther. I'm going to coach you to how to beat a guy I can't beat. But this seems to be like, it's Rocky. And Sami Zayn needs to have the eye of the tiger. So it sets up something for the future. I'm actually beginning to think that Sami Zayn might win this match and defeat Gunther, even though it doesn't make any narrative sense that it should be Chad Gable. And if they were smart, they would pivot and they would have Sami Zayn, injure his leg or something. And then Sami Zayn is in the corner of Chad Gable, But they're going to continue with this Chad Gable, Sami Zayn pairing, except for, they're going to be partners. Okay, that's fine. I don't hate it. I'm just not thrilled about Sami Zayn versus Gunther. Again, Sami Zayn comes out there. He's pasty. He's disheveled. He just looks like he sleeps under a bridge. I don't know what's up with this. Like, what is up with these indie guys, especially these ROH guys? It's the same fucking guys every week, man. Whether it's Kyle O'Reilly or Adam Cole or Sami Zayn or Eddie Kingston or CM Punk, but they all just come out in his sweats and it's gray hair all over the place. It's mussy hair all over the place. It just look like guys who work out at the YMCA. They don't look like stars. They don't look like, big stars at least. And they take the everyman approach way too far, You can have the everyman look. You can have the everyman appeal without looking like you need to be in the crowd, Like, if it wasn't for the way Punk performs, I would say put that guy in the third row, Like, just look at him. Just put him in the third row. You look like you're a guy you will see just walking around somewhere. It's just like, it's very weird. He blends in with the rest of the folk. And that's part of his gimmick, And that's usually the part of the gimmick of the ROH guy. Is I'm just like you, man. I was a fan of this business. I was a fan of Hulk Hogan, bro. It's like, why you didn't learn anything from these guys? These guys, you look homeless. You look unhoused. And you look unwell. Like you pasty. Like, could you at least go to the gym? Would it kill you to go to the gym, for God's sakes? But in any event, we're stuck with what we're stuck with. I like Sami Zayn. I like him a lot more than I like Kevin Owens. I like him a lot more than I like a lot of the guys that I mentioned. I like him more than I like CM Punk, to a degree, of course. Phil is not my favorite person due to mostly his attitude. But Sami Zayn, really good talent. In-ring talent, can tell the stories, can really do well. Good at selling, good personality. But my God, that look it's not working, bro. He just looks like he should be standing in a line at an indie show in the crowd. And it's off-putting, let's put it like that. If Chad Gable forces him to get a goddamn haircut and to line up his beard, and maybe he can get somewhat looking like the NXT Sami Zayn, maybe it will all be great. But as long as he is like Arab Daniel Bryan, this sucks. I hate that look. I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan of that. And he needs to eat something. I don't know, like, is it Ramadan still? He needs to eat. He needs to tan. Like, he's doing a lot of things, a new wardrobe, everything. But, yeah, whatever. So, that was Monday Night Raw. So, now let's get into the news and notes. First note, apparently they booked Meek Mill to be at WrestleMania. Shouldn't Meek Mill be hiding out on Sean Puffy Combs' jet, hanging out with his luggage? Shouldn't he be, worrying about the feds kicking his door in because he was involved with all this stuff too. They're gonna bring that sweet booty nigga in. I shouldn't have said that. They're gonna bring that guy to WrestleMania just because it's in Philly. I knew they was gonna book some celebrities. Like, I knew they were gonna do that. They have to. Every year they book celebrities. Now they're not doing as much celebrity involvement. Usually, Vince would have had tons of celebrities. They're not doing that many celebrities this year, and they got a celebrity in the ring this year, so that ought to be okay. But I don't know. What is he gonna do? Hopefully, he's not gonna rap, because I don't like Meek Mill raps. So they're gonna bring that loud, kind of gay dude in here. Okay. It's good for the mainstream audience, I guess. So if he doesn't end up wrapped up in this whole Puff Daddy Homeland Security raid, if he's not going to be locked up by that point in time, I guess he could be at WrestleMania. But okay, sure. In any event, they also launched a new show. It's going to be Next Gen. It is essentially Tough Enough for the new generation. It's going to be on the Roku channel starting April the 1st. I will watch at least one episode of the show. It is Tough Enough by a different name. I have no idea why they just didn't go with the name Tough Enough. Like, you already have an established brand. But maybe that's the problem, is that Tough Enough as a show has been canceled so many times that they figure, let's just try it under a different name. But it's the same concept. It seems to be like a game show where they're going to pick the next WWE superstars. Apparently, it was taped a year ago. And, of course, nobody who was on the show has been visible on NXT or anything since. But maybe that was the plan, is that you get them on the show. You build up their personalities on the show, and then you bring the winners into NXT with that push, that you were on this next gen show and all this kind of stuff. And that could probably be the idea. Again, I like the idea of a reality TV show about building the next superstars. That's why I like Tough Enough. The issue has always been they never booked these people like anything. The last guy who won Tough Enough, I don't think he ever wrestled a match in WWE anywhere. I'm talking anywhere. I don't even think he's ever did a dark match in WWE. I don't even remember what his name is. So, I'm okay with the next gen idea. It's definitely a very soft Tough Enough. You could see them talking about, we're looking for all of these things. And when they were talking about Tough Enough, man, they were about, being kind of brutal on the talent, kind of making fun of them, mocking them. But they really emphasize things like personality, where now they seem to be doing, we're going to profile these stars and profile their family life and why they want to be a wrestler and all this kind of shit. It seems, hopefully, it's not a ripoff of Monster Factory or the wrestlers from OVW. Hopefully it's not a ripoff of that, because it's not going to be the same. Well, WWE is a little too polished. And yes, it's people living the dream, but the difference between the two of them is when you're looking at something like Monster Factory or you're looking for like something like OVW, these are people who are probably never going to make it. And this is the highest that they're ever going to get. Sometimes people who don't make it in the Tough Enough system, they go to the indies and they do okay. But a lot of the guys that you've seen like in Monster Factory or on the OVW show, you'll never see those people again. Likely you're never going to see those people again. There's probably definitely going to be some people that was on Tough Enough that you've never seen again. But there's always going to be an indie promoter willing to give them a chance, That's not always going to be the case with like Monster Factory or OVW or whatever. So hopefully it's not a ripoff of those shows and it's more like Tough Enough. But it seems to be, and that's just looking from the trailer, it's going to be a very soft show. It's going to be about cultivating dreams and all this kind of stuff. Not trying to beat these kids into being diamonds and showing how tough you are and what you can go through and, forcing them to cut promos and embarrassing themselves. We'll see. But it's just very odd that WWE would have this kind of show even though I know they did Tough Enough years ago. But the popularity of the wrestling, I would like to be a wrestler, this is my dream gimmick, with all these other shows are popping up now. And apparently, I think GCW is doing one of those shows too. Apparently, they're going to do another one of these focuses on indie promotions. I know I heard this, but we'll see. So there's that. So the final thing I guess we can discuss is people actually complained about John Cena being naked at the Oscars. So because the Oscars were on regular television, some people decided they were going to file reports with the FCC that John Cena was naked on television, and they didn't like that. So Rolling Stone did an article on it, and there were 3 complaints, and I'm going to read those complaints. Here's one of them. There is no reason why a grown man will come to national television like a streaker and molest and abuse all the children who will hear and see this in TV and in the various media the following day. There is need for Cena and the Oscar organizers to be canceled for promoting gratuitous and inappropriate nudity in such horrific levels that they deserve boycott in the first order. This is absolute brain rot. Now, look, I'm not a huge fan of John Cena being naked at the Oscars. That fucking sucked. It's a humiliation ritual. I still think there's something weird about it. All right. But to say that as a streaker, he was molesting and abusing all the children, come on, let's not be, extreme here. It's not molestation. All right. I promise you. Lisa, well, let me back that up because I don't know what John Cena's doing. I'm fairly sure John Cena's not out here molesting kids. All right. I'm pretty sure it's not happening. It's all right. Here's another one. What more can I say other than an undresses man coming out on stage with only a piece of paper covering his private parts? Do your job. Get this filth off our TVs. Amazing. Do your jobs, FCC. Get this filth off our TV. It's too late. I don't know if the Oscars taped. I don't know if it's taped or if it's live or anything like that, but they don't really show reruns of it. So it's not like you're going to get assaulted with it again. But yeah, it was filth. It was absolutely filth. Sorry about that. Here's the third and final one. John Cena's almost complete nudity during the Oscars on March 12th was abhorrent. If that had been a woman, the world would have ended. If that had been a woman, the world would have ended. Amazing. And that's the fact. If it was a naked woman at the Oscars, I'm pretty sure that everybody would have ran around talking about that for ages. That young lady, Sydney Sweeney, she hasn't had her tits out, which she takes pictures with her tits out all the time. And everybody talks about how she's been sexualized and how that's unfair. It's like, well, she's wearing her tits out for a reason. That's what she wants to do. That's her thing. And they're being extremely protective about her, who was fully dressed, by the way. She just had, her boobs pushed up and, on display. John Cena's fully fucking naked out there. And everybody's kind of like, ha 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 ha, it's a joke. How funny is that? It's like, wait a minute. Maybe people should be offended by that. I don't know. Whatever. I wasn't upset about it. I was more disappointed that John Cena is becoming so Hollywood that these kind of things is becoming normal for him to do. So I'm still very disappointed in John, even though I know that's not his sense of humor. I can safely say, okay, Cena is not trying to be involved with any humiliation rituals. There's been enough evidence brought to my attention that John Cena just likes doing weird stuff. He likes being naked on television. There's a WWF Confidential talking about it. He did it on Total Divas. So it's a thing that he does. I'm willing to accept that it wasn't part of a humiliation ritual, but I still don't like it. And I still think he should do better than that. He definitely should think about the kids look at him like a role model when he's out there naked. Because I don't want him to fall into that Eminem camp where Eminem started cross-dressing and doing a lot of other weird stuff and sending kids down the wrong path. Anyway, that's what we're going to close on. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.